of this Premier League game at King Power Stadium. Disappointment all around King Power Stadium. Leicester City beaten here by 2-1. Southampton scooped their first 3 points of the Premier League on the road since February. Leicester had the advantage. James Maddison, the goal scorer, after 55 minutes with an intelligent free kick, but it was Che Adams, the lad who was born in Leicester, who came on as a substitute and caused all sorts of problems. He scored the equaliser on 68 minutes, and then 6 minutes from time grabbed the winner with a really well converted volley from James Ward-Prowse's cross, and in the end it was too big a blow for Leicester to recover from, and they've been beaten here, the Foxes, by Southampton by 2-1. Jerry, your thoughts on a disappointing afternoon at King Power Stadium?
You've just hit the nail on the head. Disappointing, you know, going 1-0 up in front, looking good in the first half, and again after going that goal up, they decided to sit back. I think Leicester really let Southampton come right into the game, and once Southampton got a foothold in the game, you've got to give them credit. They just didn't let go of that foothold. You know, they put Leicester under pressure. Leicester didn't get close enough to them. In that second half, they didn't put them under enough pressure. There wasn't enough challenges. They weren't physical enough for Southampton. And on the flip side, when Leicester were in possession and trying to get any momentum, Southampton were relentless in their, you know, in their hunt to get the ball back. And I wouldn't say 2 soft goals, but 2 goals that were avoidable.
Yeah, preventable.
Preventable, you have to say. And yet again, like Brentford, you know, losing a game of football from which they were leading is probably the most disappointing thing. You know, I can understand at certain times you're going on the back foot trying to defend the lead, but there's ways to defend the lead, and you know, and you have to be physical, and you have to be committed, and unfortunately the commitment all came from Southampton in that second half. So again, a disappointing end to the game, I have to say.
Is there much to be said for the Leicester City possession in the first half? They had lots of moments. They were knocking the ball around nicely, Jerry. They were getting into the final third, but they just weren't able to carve anything significant. They weren't really able to test Bazunu in the goal. And for all the possession that Leicester had, if you aren't converting that into chances, that can lead to frustration too.
Yeah, you know, again, you talk about it. We said that Southampton carried a threat, and you know, they made the substitution. Adams came on, different dynamic, but a dynamic that worked for them. Are you going to say that one player made all that much difference? On that second half performance, you'd probably have to say that Che Adams was the difference today, and he lifted his team, and you know, and the team followed his lead. So yeah, you know, credit to him.
Yeah, Che Adams, 2 goals. Too good for Leicester here this afternoon at King Power Stadium. The Foxes have been beaten by Southampton by 2-1.
Thank you very much, Niall. Yes, disappointing result here at King Power Stadium against Southampton. Matt Elliott and Jerry Taggart will be with me as we look to assess that defeat here, Matt. And firstly, I'll obviously have to start with you. What are your thoughts? Can you sum that one up for us, please?
Well, listen, both Niall and Jerry have mentioned how disappointing that is, and don't need me to sort of reinforce that. It is quite obvious, isn't it? You know, at any time, at any stage of any season, you're winning a game at home, to go and lose it, regardless of the opposition, is a blow, isn't it? And certainly that's the case today, especially after being pegged back against Brentford in the opening day of the season, where they looked good. Not dissimilar to today. I thought they were better against Brentford than they were today. There was more purpose about their play for an hour or so, but then foot came off the gas for whatever reason, and they couldn't get back into it, and Brentford came storming back. And then similar scenario really today with Southampton. We mentioned at half time about, you know, the huge gap in possession percentage, but it's largely irrelevant. It's all about what you do with the ball. But it's about Southampton being dogged, being determined, being sharp into the challenge. As Jerry mentioned there, they were fighting for every ball. They had a real purpose about them, and that didn't get diminished by conceding the goal. In fact, if anything, it stoked them up even more. And they turned it round on Leicester, didn't they? After Maddison's quality with the set piece. But yeah, that's going to be a blow, because you saw a couple of players there, a bit flabbergasted and I wouldn't say disillusioned, but hugely disappointed to concede that second goal there. And it didn't feel like Leicester had time to get back on level terms, but it's just the body language a little bit at the end was like, no matter what we do, it's not going for us at the moment. And 3 games in, 1 point on the board, doesn't look particularly healthy, but as we know, things can turn around quickly. Yeah,
it's a long season, and I'm sure that's what they'll be saying to each other, and the Leicester fans as well have to say that. Yeah,
of course. Listen, I think it would be different if Leicester were getting torn apart and getting, pummeled in games, and the scoreline was vastly different. There was 4 or 5-0 hammer-ins, etc. Then there's, of course, there's cause for concern. But I think today, and the other games, Arsenal, by Brendan Rodgers' admission, deserved to win the game, but Leicester played their part and played quite well at times. But I thought they were a little bit overly courageous, shall we say, in their approach. But didn't play badly. Just came up against a very good side. Played well for the most part against Brentford. I wouldn't say they played badly today, would you? Although, listen, there's plenty of room for people to level accusations. I mean, you look at the possession stats in the first half, was 70-30, I think, and by the end of the game it was 62-38. So it shows you that Southampton came back into it strongly in the second half. But I think of the stats, if you're a believer or a follower of them, I think the ones I've seen so far, the most damning would be there's some people are worried about Leicester defensively, and rightly so. 2 soft goals, preventable, as the lad said. 1 shot on target though as well, and that's the Maddison goal, which surprised me. I didn't actually just saw it just then at the bottom of the screen before. That's a harsh reality or reflection of Leicester's attacking play today, but they did look a little bit short, and if Maddison didn't produce something today, you were sort of wondering where it was going to come from. 1 or 2 other players threatened to, but short in that department today, which is both a surprise and a little bit of a worry.
Yet another James Maddison free kick though, Jerry, which the Leicester fans were able to save. It was a fantastic strike.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? A bit of magic really from James Maddison. I think everybody on the ground thought he was going for that far post, including the Southampton goalkeeper. But I mean, he had to be absolutely pinpoint perfect there with that execution, and he was. It just sneaked in down at the keeper's near post, and the whip he's got on the ball, the curl he's got on the ball to get it round the outside of the wall, and then to come back round it and inside the near post. That is top level.
Yeah, but it was a fantastic strike. We're just seeing a couple of replays of it as well there, Jerry. It's just to be able to curl it round there, and the goalkeeper has got to assume that he's potentially going to do that, so he's already maybe taking a step, but he was still able to beat him. It's quite brilliant. Yeah,
it's one of those ones for the keeper where 90% of the time, let's say, you're thinking he can't put it in there. He's got to pull off an absolute whirly to put it in there. So I can sort of nip 1 step further to my right, where he thinks the ball would probably go 90% of the time. But you're never really sure as a keeper in those kind of situations. And the 10% of the time that your top players try and pull off a free kick like that, you'd have to say that probably 90% of the time it doesn't come off. They miss, it goes wide, or the keeper gets back across. But on this occasion, I mean, it couldn't go anywhere else. If it went anywhere else, the keeper saves it or it doesn't go in. It's as simple as that. So yeah, absolutely pinpoint.
Which is why it's disappointing, Matt, that Leicester did take the lead. They did take the lead, and and it was squandered obviously in that second half.
Yeah, they sort of conceded the issues that they've, didn't they? You know, I don't know. I was interested to see how Leicester would react. I knew how Southampton would go about things, you know, because
They did it last week.
yeah, you can see they got determination in the ranks there. And I thought if Leicester, you know, the way things have been, all things considered, Leicester take the lead. Will they go and look to score a second, finish the game off, or will they look to see the game out? And I think that was sort of debatable for a short period. But then the more it went on, the more it was a case of Leicester sort of protecting that lead rather than taking the game and finishing it off. But to concede like this is, I mean, listen, long throws are difficult to deal with at times. Leicester would have prepared for that. They knew what was coming. Did it reasonably well up to that point. But Wilfred indeed, he just gets his bearings wrong here, doesn't he? In a little tussle with Shea Adams, who causes him to sort of take his eye off the ball and gets the flight of the delivery wrong, but goes under it. But the worst effect is that he's actually lost track of Adams, who's done well. Span, realised the ball's over his head, trying to pick up the pieces. That's exactly what he did. Tucked it away, and it was too easy from Leicester's point of view. I mean, in an ideal world, I know it's difficult because they've got numbers in there, but long throw, okay, come short. But you should have one man in front, ideally, so it can't go into the player's feet, Adams. But as it wasn't Adams, because he came under the ball, dragged Ndidi under, and then it's gone to, I'm not sure it was who actually laid it off, was it Aribo? I'm not sure, but it can't go into players' feet, you know, directly from a throw. And it's the centre half, isn't it? Yeah. But you've got to have someone protecting or whatever, or misjudgment by Ndidi. James Justin sort of caught by surprise that he's been fizzed in at the far stick, because you wonder why he didn't try and scramble it away. But it's a goal out of nothing, really. Goal out of nothing, isn't it? And it's not like they've got the long throw and they've got a flick and then it's difficult to deal with the second ball. That's basically a long throw into feet, 25 yards, 30 yards. Can't really happen. Amati as well could be getting a little foot round trying to unsettle him. As has been the case lately, collectively a few little bits have gone wrong in one phase of play. It's cost Leicester.
Yeah, will James, Justin, Jerry, do you think, be disappointed? Obviously not being able to get the clearance on the line, always a difficult one.
No, I can't say it. If you look at James Justin where he is, he's going back onto the line from the middle of the 6-yard box. So he's scrambling, isn't he? And Danny Ward's dove right in front of him. So, I mean, you can't really put any blame on James Justin there. Matt's already explained. I don't know. I see that a lot. They don't put a man in front now of the guy they're aiming at for the throw. They used to have a man in front, one, and then you just mark in an orthodox fashion from a throw-in. And Messi didn't do that. And Wilfred's a little bit too eager to actually get in front of Che Adams and win the first ball. And sometimes you can't do that either. You just have to, you know, have a bit of a bum fight to see who wins it. And I've seen it a few times from Wilfred. I know it's hard to criticise Wilfred, and that's not what I'm doing. But on occasion, he gets a little bit over-eager. Instead of just staying controlled, staying composed, and dealing with whatever problem comes his way. And he made it too easy for Southampton to be able to get a goal-scoring opportunity out of that throw-in. You know, there's a couple of different ways to deal with that, and Leicester unfortunately didn't do any of them.
The second goal for Southampton, Jerry, was just a really good finish, wasn't it? From Shea Adams, a brilliant ball in from James Ward-Prowse, which we know he's capable of that sort of delivery.
Yeah, again, you know, I said about Leicester, just they weren't laying a finger. They were in the good positions on the pitch. Southampton were having lots of possession, but nobody was getting into them, getting stuck in and saying, right, not today, sunshine. It was all a little bit too easy, too much room for Ward-Prowse to put that ball in, and we know what he's capable of if he has time and space to be able to do that. And again, it's a quality ball in the box and a you know, a finish to match the ball that came into him from Che Adams. You know, simple as that. Yeah.
What could Leicester maybe might have done differently in that final 20 minutes once they'd taken the lead, do you think? It's hindsight, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give credit to Southampton. They showed good character today. I think from the start, you could see that they were up for the fight, up for the challenge. They weren't the prettiest in terms of football, but they had that physicality definitely about their game. There were lots of challenges that supporters are getting reaccustomed to, and the referees are as well. And I think there were contentious decisions there on numerous occasions throughout the game. Certainly the home fans were bemoaning the way things were going for them, but I thought the referee did all right by and large. But Southampton were quite forceful in the challenge and got the rub of the green a few times, but you make your own luck, and that extra edge about their game was ultimately sort of the decisive factor, if you like, amongst many. But Leicester haven't got that too much, naturally with the players that are out there on the park. Vardy, of course, has got an edge, and Wilfred's
James Maddison seemingly today.
Maddison wanted to get involved with people he shouldn't have been, to be fair, but knowing that it was only going to go so far. No, but that's not his game, is it? That setting about people. Dewsbury Hall can do to a level, but it's not Perez's forte. So that's not a feature that Leicester are recognised for. It's something they need to have within their game. But I thought that was, I don't know. It's difficult. I don't want to sound too critical because Leicester weren't, abysmally poor today. Again, despite the result going against them, a bit short in certain areas. But you say, what could they do different? For me, I don't know. I like to see that mentality of teams go 1-0 up and they look to want to go 2-0 up and possibly 3-0, rather than sitting on it and maybe nicking one kid in the game off. I know that's maybe the safest way over a period of time, I don't know, but it's almost like back yourself to be good enough, because the opposition are going to open up a bit and finish the game off. For me, that's the best way of finishing it, because you see it so many times. If people sit on a 1-goal lead for however long a period of time, you're going to concede an opportunity at very least, probably quite a few, and you're sort of not riding your luck, but you're depending on the other team not executing something well. Don't even give them that opportunity. And I think the way that the confidence is for Leicester at the moment, it's not quite there at the moment for them to go and finish the game off when it's 2-3-0. That will come hopefully in time. I would have liked to have seen that, because when they're in their pomp and when they're playing at their best, that's what they do.
Just give a quick update on some of the other scores that took place today in the Premier League. Spurs beat Wolves 1-0 earlier on in the early kick-off. Crystal Palace beat Villa 3-1. It was 1-1 between Everton and Forest, and there was a bit of a ding-dong game down at Craven Cottage that ended 3-2 to Fulham. Jerry, you can have the final say, because it's a big week now for Leicester, isn't it, really? There's firstly the cup trip to Stockport County, and then Chelsea away in the league in a week's time. So yeah, big week for Brendan Rodgers and his side.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably, a game on Tuesday night where he'll make a raft of changes, you'd like to think, to prepare for the Chelsea game, because you don't need me to say it, that the column's obviously a massive priority. And he needs to find something within the squad as well, for me. The way the second half panned out, just there was a lack of something, or a lack of a few things there for me. So yeah, there's a lot of soul searching, I would say, this week to try and be found.
Yeah, we'll be on from 6:45 on Tuesday evening for that trip, and to Edgeley Park as well. So do join us for that. Before that, on Monday evening, Matt will join myself and Ewan in the LCFC radio studio for extra time, alongside journalist Jonathan Northcroft as well. So there's plenty of content to come from us this week. But yeah, join us again on Tuesday after an overall disappointing day here at King Power Stadium. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.